Hello everyone, this is Bonsai Dog coming to you aboard the deck of USS Iowa at LA Fleet Week, San Pedro, California. Following the journey.
USS Iowa, BB-61, the lead ship of the Iowa-class battleship that saw action during World War II, the Korean War, and the Gulf War. During World War II, she carried President Franklin D. Roosevelt across the Atlantic to Mers el-Kabir, Algeria, en route to a conference of vital importance in 1943 in Tehran with Prime Minister Winston Churchill of the United Kingdom and Joseph Stalin, leader of the Soviet Union. When transferred to the Pacific Fleet in 1944, Iowa shelled beachheads at Kwajalein and Eniwetok in advance of Allied amphibious landings and screened aircraft carriers operating in the Marshall Islands. She also served as the 3rd Fleet flagship, flying Admiral William F. Halsey's flag at the Japanese surrender in Tokyo Bay. Iowa completed her presidential escort mission on 16 December by returning the president to the United States. 8. Roosevelt addressed the crew of Iowa prior to leaving by stating, "From all I have seen and all I have heard, the Iowa is a happy ship, and having served with the Navy for many years, I know, and you know, what that means." He also touched on the progress made at the conference before concluding his address with, "Good luck, and remember that I am with you in spirit, each and every one of you." During the Korean War, Iowa was involved in raids on the North Korean coast, after which she was decommissioned into the United States Navy Reserve Fleets, better known as the Mothball Fleet. She was reactivated in 1984 as part of the 600-ship Navy plan and operated in both the Atlantic and Pacific fleets to counter the recently expanded Soviet Navy. In April 1989, an explosion of undetermined origin wrecked her No. 2-gun turret, killing 47 sailors. As part of President Ronald Reagan's and Secretary of the Navy John F. Lehman's effort to create an expanded 600-ship Navy, Iowa was reactivated in 1982 and towed by USNS Apache to Avondale Shipyard near New Orleans, Louisiana, for refitting and equipment modernization in advance of her planned recommissioning. During the refit, Iowa had all of her remaining Oerlikon 20mm and Bofors 40mm anti-aircraft guns removed, due to their ineffectiveness against modern fighter jets and anti-ship missiles. Additionally, the two 5-in, 127mm, gun mounts located at midship, and in the aft on the port and starboard sides of the battleship were removed. Iowa was then towed to Ingalls Shipbuilding, Pascagoula, Mississippi, where over the next several months the battleship was upgraded with the most advanced weaponry available. Among the new weapons systems installed were 4 Mk141 quad-cell launchers for 16 AGM-84 Harpoon anti-ship missiles, 8 armored box launcher mounts for 32 BGM-109 Tomahawk missiles, and a quartet of phalanx close and weapon system Gatling guns for defense against enemy anti-ship missiles and enemy aircraft. Sometime after June 1986, Iowa was the first battleship to receive the RQ-2 Pioneer Manned Aerial Vehicle, UAV. She could carry up to 8 of the remotely controlled drones, which replaced the helicopters, although helicopters were not carried by battleships, previously used to spot for her 9/16-inch, 406mm/50 calories Mark 7 guns. Also included in her modernization were upgrades to radar and fire control systems for her guns and missiles, and improved electronic warfare capabilities. Armed as such, Iowa was formally recommissioned on April 28, 1984, ahead of schedule, within her budget at a cost of $500 million, and under the command of Captain Gerald E. Neckow. From April to August 1984, Iowa underwent refresher training and naval gunfire support qualifications at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and the Puerto Rican operating area. After a short period in her new home port of Norfolk, Virginia, she spent the two periods of time during the rest of 1984 and early 1985 conducting presence operations shakedown in the area around Central America. During this time she transited the Panama Canal to operate off the west coast of Central America while also conducting people-to-people humanitarian operations, including in El Salvador, Costa Rica, and Honduras. From January to September 1987, Iowa operated in the waters in and around Central America and participated in several exercises until sailing for the Mediterranean Sea on 10 September to join the 6th Fleet based there. She remained in the Mediterranean until 22 October, when she was detached from the 6th Fleet and departed for operations in the North Sea. On 25 November, as part of Operation Earnest Will, Iowa transited the Suez Canal and set sail for the Persian Gulf, which at the time was one of the battlefields of the First Gulf War, also referred to as the Iran-Iraq War. The presence of U.S. naval vessels in the Gulf was in response to a formal petition from Kuwait, 34, whose ships were being raided by Iranian forces who were attempting to cut off weapons shipments from the United States and Europe to Saddam Hussein's regime in Iraq, via Kuwaiti territory. This phase of the war would later be called the tanker war phase of the Iran-Iraq War. Iowa and other vessels operating in the Gulf were assigned to escort Kuwaiti tankers from Kuwaiti ports to the open sea, but because U.S. law forbade military escorts for civilian ships flying a foreign flag, the tankers escorted by the United States were reflagged as U.S. merchant vessels and assigned American names. For the remainder of the year, Iowa escorted Kuwaiti gas and oil tankers reflagged as U.S. merchant ships from the Persian Gulf through the Strait of Hormuz. On January 20, 1989, during an improperly authorized gunnery experiment off Vieques Island, Iowa fired a 16-inch, 406mm, shell 23.4 nautical miles, 26.9 miles, 43.3 kilometers, setting a record for the longest-range 16-in, 406mm, shell ever fired. In February, the battleship sailed for New Orleans for a port visit before departing for Norfolk. On 10 April, the battleship was visited by the commander of the 2nd Fleet, and on 13 April she sailed to participate in a fleet exercise. During a gunnery exercise, at 0955 on April 19, 1989, an explosion ripped through the number 2 16-inch, 406mm, gun turret, killing 47 crewmen. A gunner's mate in the powder magazine room quickly flooded the No. 2-powder magazine, likely preventing catastrophic damage to the ship. At first, Naval Investigative Service, NICE, later renamed Naval Criminal Investigative Service or NCIS, investigators theorized that one of the dead crewmen, Clayton Hartvick, had detonated an explosive device in a suicide attempt after the end of an alleged affair with another sailor. To support this claim, naval officials pointed to several different factors, including Hartvick's life insurance policy, which named Kendall Truitt as the sole beneficiary in the event of his death, the presence of unexplained materials inside turret 2, and his mental state, which was alleged to be unstable. With the collapse of the Soviet Union in the early 1990s and the lack of a perceived threat against the United States came drastic cuts to the defense budget and the battleships were deemed uneconomical. As a result, Iowa was decommissioned for the last time on October 26, 1990, after a total of 19 years of commissioned service. She was the first of the reactivated battleships to be decommissioned, and this was done earlier than originally planned as a result of the damaged turret. Iowa was originally berthed at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard and later at Naval Station Newport in Newport, Rhode Island from September 24, 1998 to March 8, 2001, when she began her journey under tow to California. The ship arrived in Sassoon Bay near San Francisco on April 21, 2001 and joined the reserve fleet, where she remained in reserve until struck again from the Naval Vessel Register in March 2006. She and her sister ships had been struck previously in 1995. She remained at the Sassoon Bay anchorage until November 2011. On March 17, 2006, the Secretary of the Navy struck Iowa and Wisconsin from the NBR, which cleared the way for both ships to be donated for use as museum ships, but the United States Congress remained deeply concerned over the loss of the naval surface gunfire support that the battleships provided, and noted that Navy efforts to improve upon, much less replace, this capability have been highly problematic. As a partial consequence, Congress passed Pub. L. 109-163, the National Defense Authorization Act 2006, requiring that the battleships be kept and maintained in a state of readiness should they ever be needed again. Congress ordered that measures be implemented to ensure that, if need be, Iowa could be returned to active duty. These measures closely mirrored the original three conditions that the National Defense Authorization Act of 1996, which laid out for the maintenance of Iowa while she was in the mothball fleet. In February 2010, the Pacific Battleship Center, PBC, supported the efforts to have the ship berthed in San Pedro, Los Angeles, California. In late February, the Port of Los Angeles, which includes the San Pedro area, rejected a proposal by the PBC to berth USS Iowa at its facilities because the battleship was not yet available. On April 12, 2010, the governor of Iowa signed into law Bill SJR 2007, which officially formed a 10-member committee to raise about $5 million for the group awarded USS Iowa. The statement supporting the Vallejo Group and the original Iowa State Senate's version SR 19 was struck in favor of supporting any group actually awarded the battleship. On May 13, 2010, the Navy announced it would reopen the bidding process, citing HSMPS's lack of progress as the reason. On May 24, 2010, the Federal Register officially reopened the bidding process for USS Iowa to a California-based city or nonprofit organization. On November 18, 2010, the Port of Los Angeles Harbor Commissioners voted unanimously on a resolution to support Berth 87 as the future home of USS Iowa, clearing the way for the Pacific Battleship Center to send its completed application to the Navy. On September 6, 2011, USS Iowa was awarded to Pacific Battleship Center for placement at the Port of Los Angeles. After rehabilitation at the Port of Richmond, California, beginning in October 2011, she was towed to and eventually berthed in the Port of Los Angeles. Starting in December 2011, USS Iowa was open for weekend tours. The Battleship Expo at the Port of Richmond included shipboard access and other exhibits such as 16-inch shells, a short film about the battleship, and other exhibits. On April 30, 2012, USS Iowa was officially donated to the Pacific Battleship Center in Los Angeles by the United States Navy. Iowa earned 9 battle stars for World War II service and 2 for Korean War service. Iowa began her journey to the Port of Los Angeles on May 26, 2012 under tow by 4 Crowley Maritime tugboats. After being anchored off the Southern California coast to have her hull scrubbed to remove any invasive species or contaminants, on June 9, 2012 she was permanently docked in San Pedro at berth 87, along the main channel, directly south of the World Cruise Center. The museum opened to the public on 7 July, under the direction and control of Pacific Battleship Center.